Hi folks, Dom Lawson here with another Iron Sandwich, which is my clever and witty way of saying that I'm just going to sit here for a couple of minutes and talk about an album. So today's album, which is very exciting, is the new album by Iced Earth, who you may or may not be a huge fan of. I think you should be if you like heavy metal, because they're one of the most consistent bands from the traditional metal realm. For the last couple of decades. They're one of those bands that I wish I'd got into earlier, really. I kind of was aware of them around the time of the first few albums, but never really listened to them particularly until The Dark Saga came out. But obviously I went back and listened to the other albums, and they're one of those bands that have kind of upheld the tradition of melodic, traditional heavy metal. But with a kind of an updated heaviness, which has I think made them one of the more interesting and non-cheesy bands from that kind of area of metal. Because I totally understand why a lot of people don't like the power metal stuff so much, because apart from anything else, as Warrell Dane once said to me, heavy metal's not supposed to be happy, is it? And music that's all in, with lots of major chord progressions and lots of twinkly keyboard melodies is all a bit too cheerful, really, which is why power metal is a bit irritating sometimes, although there is great stuff in that genre, same as any other. But anyway, Iced Earth, new album's called Dystopia. I think it's their 10th studio album. I've just worked that out, but I could be wrong. It's around their 10th anyway. And it's the first one to feature their new singer, who is Stu Block, who used to be, and maybe still is, the singer in a Canadian band called Into Eternity, who are well worth checking out. Kind of proggy, power metal-y, death metal-y kind of hybrid band that have done some really interesting stuff. And Stu Block's a very kind of versatile vocalist, so he's ideal for Iced Earth, because obviously he's having to hit some very high notes but also do some very kind of aggressive vocals as well. But anyway, he puts in a fantastic performance on this album, and it's interesting to note that at times he's very reminiscent of Matt Barlow, the old Iced Earth singer, and at other points he sounds a little bit like Tim Owens, who of course was the guy that replaced Matt Barlow a few years back before being replaced by Matt Barlow. Some would say that John Schaefer is a very indecisive bastard, but I wouldn't dare to suggest such a thing. But anyway, Stu Block's come in for this album, and I think the thing that I love most about this record is that the last couple of Iced Earth albums were all based around John Schaefer's Something Wicked concept. And I love a concept album, and I think they were great records, but they were taken in their entirety. There was an awful lot of stuff on there, and I guess a few handfuls of really good songs on those albums, but it all kind of got a little bit swamped by the demands of the concept, I think, and the kind of interludes and tracks that were really just kind of setups for big anthemic crescendos and peaks and troughs of the story. They're not albums that you would necessarily regard as particularly memorable, in a sense. There were, each of the two albums had 3 or 4 great songs on that I would stick on a best Iced Earth compilation any day. But certainly there was it wasn't quite as incisive as say Something Wicked This Way Comes, or The Dark Saga, or The Glorious Burden, albums that had gone before that were absolutely rammed with anthems. Well, Dystopia, the new album, sees Iced Earth return to a much more kind of concise and aggressive and straightforward approach, I guess. Sonically, it's the heaviest thing they've done, I think. The last 2 albums had a very kind of clipped and compressed sound. They didn't really kind of leap from the speakers particularly. I don't know why. I guess it's a quirk of the production or whatever John Schaefer was trying to get at. I don't think it worked particularly well, because I think the albums like The Dark Saga and Something Wicked had a really big, bold, booming heavy metal sound, and Dystopia has that, although updated and even bigger and more booming and more aggressive and powerful than anything they've done, I'd say. And Stu Block's voice has a lot to do with that as well. There are some I can go through every single track, you'd be bored rigid and probably slit your own throat, so I won't do that. But there's a couple of numbers, particularly one called Days of Rage, which is absolutely thunderous and brutal and really a great showcase for a singer who, as I say, is able to do the incredibly high screams and the powerful kind of traditional metal vocals, as well as there's a real death metal tinge to some of the stuff he does as well, and it reminds me a little bit of Chuck Billy's kind of 90s stuff in Testament, when he was, still singing, but it had a real growl to it and a real kind of, kind of bass bass frequency kind of rumble, and yeah, so Stu Block, 10 out of 10 for his performance, and I think he's evidently the man to take Iced Earth forward. I think I've been told that he looks like me. I think that may well be bollocks, but there you go. I'm sure that he's much more handsome and less haggard looking, less tired probably, and less grey in the hair department. Although probably less witty, so you know, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? So there you go, Iced Earth. If you're a fan, you absolutely need this album because it's brilliant. If you're not a fan and you've never checked them out before, I think it's a really good entry point because it's you know, it's got 10 or 11 songs on it, and they're all quite to the point. There's not too much fannying about. There's no great overarching concept to kind of confuse and confound you, and also, you, as always, you get to listen to John Schaefer's frankly mind-bending rhythm guitar abilities, which are just astonishing. He's one of the best rhythm guitar players on the planet, without a doubt, particularly in metal. And yes, highly recommended. Iced Earth, Dystopia. I think it's out in a week or two. And yes, it's heavy metal. If you like heavy metal, then you're all right with me, and I recommend it very highly. Now I'm going to have a nice drink of. I've got a lovely large mug of hot tequila here, which is how we start the day down here by the seaside. So yeah, thanks for watching my face, and hopefully you'll be around next time when I delve into the next Iron Sandwich, and who knows what I'll be talking about then. Oh, the excitement, amazing. Cheers, have a lovely day. Oh no, I failed to click it then, I'll do it this time, I'll do it. Goodbye!